Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode. Today I'll be talking about boundaries and how authenticity will make your art practice better. All of these 7 reasons why authenticity and boundaries are important. It's not just important in your art practice, it's also important for life. Knowing your limits and expressing them shows higher value, and people will respect you more for it. So don't be afraid to voice your boundaries, what you're willing to accept in a job versus what you won't. Create a list of options of the things, of the services that you provide. And this is important because that way, if you disagree with your client in a way or something that they want you to do, you also have like something that you can counterbalance that with, or a counter offer. This happened to me in my 5-6 years ago when I was approached to do a little segment on a show exposing the way that I work. And the people of that show, they thought that I was a plein air artist, which meant that that I go outside and I paint live scenic perspectives with people, and that's not true. And I took photographs of the the Harvest Ritual song, and then I went to my studio and did that. So I felt more authentic and more comfortable being honest with them and saying, look, that's not something that I do, instead of trying to improvise in a very serious professional setting, not being professional and not serious by saying that I know how to do something that I don't do. Tending to do something or to be something that you're not is not only not authentic, it's also lacks integrity, because it shows that you're not being honest with your client. So I would steer clear of that. It's not just something that you should focus on, just taking any job that you get. And I know it can be tempting because we don't always get a lot of offers of jobs, but I felt totally uncomfortable. But I had an option. I told them, I do this. I take pictures of the people, and then I paint at home. And that story is in my IG. It's also a combination of a really embarrassing story that goes along with that. So if you guys want to check that out, it's in my Instagram. I'll link that below. Also will link the video of where I'm included. That video is in Spanish, so if you know Spanish, and if not, I'm sorry. Okay, also another reason, number 2, why it's important to set boundaries in your artwork is learning to say no and not overcommitting yourself. Because eventually that will only build resentment, maybe towards your client and towards yourself and your art practice, because you're like, oh my god, you'll end up hating your art practice if you overcommit, because that will totally lead to burnout. And I've been there, trust me. I've done it to myself too. So it's not something that I recommend. Or undercharging because you don't want to say no to a client. You say, okay, I can negotiate prices, and it's okay to negotiate, but it's up to you. Just know. And this is number 4. Learn how fast it takes you to complete something, to give a client an estimate, because people that aren't in the art business don't always know how long it takes. And this is the reason why I hate those really fast process videos of really hyper speed people hyper speeding up the process of completing a piece that you see on the internet, on Instagram a lot, and TikTok, because people assume that a painting or a drawing takes seconds, and that's not. Just again, don't be afraid to voice those things to your client. Tell them how long it takes you. Tell them that they have to pay for your entire commitment and time, including also be willing to tell them that this takes money, this takes materials, it takes you a long time to, I don't know, ship Shipping can be expensive depending on how big the piece is. I had a client recently contact me for a wedding event that they wanted me to do, and they were only willing to pay for the completed painting that they liked. They thought that I was going to make several paintings in an hour because that's what they were wanting to contract my services for, and they were only gonna pay me for the painting that they liked, and they were assuming that I was gonna be able to complete several in an hour, which to me is ridiculous. I know my work speed. I have been training myself to be aware of how fast I do things because I like to rate my things fairly, but also taking into account that I'm honest with myself and I'm honest with people. I told them, well, I didn't tell them, but I'm telling you, it takes me an hour-ish to do a good base drawing, like a drawing for that or that. And those are really big pieces. And smaller pieces take more details, so it could take longer. But that's what I'm saying. It just is unrealistic for a client's request, and you have to be honest with them. That's part of being authentic. That's part of being an integral artist. And being authentic and being, honest in your practice will maybe lose you some really unaware clients, but it will bring you and build you a reputation for being fair and professional if you are willing to set your limits. That's part of having boundaries, is setting your limits, having those tough conversations, of being willing to be yourself and knowing how you work, and being willing to voice those messages to your client in a way that is professional but also authentic with yourself, and so that you're not overexerting yourself. Number 5, saying yes to everything will make you lose authenticity. If you're saying yes to everything you're requested to do, you will lose a sense of what you actually do, and will only be, cherry picking and so overextending yourself in so many different directions. You'll lose yourself. I've seen this done to a lot of artists, and it's the same reason as, wanting work. I can understand that. But if you want to build a skill, it's easier to, first say, well, I don't know how to do that yet. And if they have a timeline where they can be flexible, you can say, well, I am willing to work this out, but I'm just not as familiar with it. Or if you don't have that time and you're getting the same request over and over, take your own time to build that skill while you're offering other services. And this is number 6. Say yes when you want to experience new things, but preferably not under pressure. I wasn't a photographer, but my first job was as a photographer. But I had the flexibility of learning on the job because I had several months to learn that. And I could improvise. I had taken, photography classes. I majored as a painter, so I always needed, other art-related things to back that up. But I wasn't under pressure. I had to turn in like a set of like the best photography that I had in like a month or something. Like had like several deadlines, and I was able to meet them because I took hundreds of them every single day. So I was able to experience something new, build my skill level. I'm not a photographer. I did that as part of the job, and I got to learn something for myself. I think I would love to learn that more if I had more skill level and better quality equipment to do it. But anyway, that's one example. Or also, I was often asked to work in smaller painting sizes, and usually I work 20 or 30 by 40 inches scale paintings. That's my like comfort level. And I like that bigger level paintings because it just gives me more control. I don't like tiny things usually, but because I was getting that question asked a lot, it took me like 2.5 years to build my confidence level to where I can offer that service now. I can offer smaller size watercolor portraits that are in my website and my store. And like I said, it's just a matter of knowing your worth, setting your boundaries, not overexerting yourself, having a niche if you like that thing. I don't personally ascribe to that because I do a lot of things, but things I'm comfortable with, services that I'm comfortable with saying, this is what I can offer you in a high quality level to my client, because that will bring more clients and that will get you recommendations. This is number 7 and the final one that I think is the most important one, and I think I've been covering this one not explicitly but throughout the video. Don't jeopardize your quality of your work just to get a job. And this is why setting your limits is so important. It's part of having an integral practice and career. Is not jeopardizing quality trying to do something that you don't know how to do just to get the job. It's not worth it. Like I said, and this goes back to that first example or that second example with the wedding. I wasn't willing to scramble to get paid, like, I don't even know, because they weren't even like upfront about it. It just wasn't gonna be worth it. I didn't even know that wedding event live painting was even a thing. I told the client, like, I don't think you're gonna get something of high quality done in an hour unless you're looking for caricaturists. And I'm not ragging on caricaturists. If you want that and if you see that, it's totally up to the client. I wouldn't want that at my wedding. No offense to anybody. I personally would prefer a high quality photographer and then somebody to do a portrait of my wedding, a candid portrait of something that happened at the wedding. Then have somebody scramble in an hour just to finish a job. It's just not how I work. I prefer quality artwork than scrambled last minute mediocre-ish stuff. It's just not me. But one of the services that I do provide, is portraits of pictures that you want to have forever and have it interpreted in a new and fun way. I also would do, engagement portraits of, the moment or the reaction. Some of the things that I was thinking of, things that I could offer instead of live painting, because it would be, for me, I was always thinking like it would be a hassle to take all that stuff to like a place where you're not like in a comfortable setting to paint, where there's a lot of I get super distracted by a lot of noise and stuff. It's just not my thing. I wouldn't work in a way like that. It's too much. But to each their own. If somebody wants to do that, but it's knowing your limits and setting those boundaries that are important for having an authentic practice. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. I will be having an announcement of something really big coming up, so stay tuned. And yeah, take care.